Hello, the whole world. I'm coming to you from a scorching climate which I'm not used to. And when I'm shooting a video, it's much better in my room because of the lights, and I'm tired of wiping my sweat off. Mom's scarves, which I also wear outside, could help a little, even though my eyebrows and both piercings prevented sweat from getting into my eyes. This scarf made me somewhat comfortable. Now let's get the point.
You are savages. Look, the custom of hanging. Human teeth around your neck is starting. In the next generation, you will pierce your ears, a nose and wear bones or shells for decoration. I know very well.
You are savages. Look, the custom of hanging human teeth around your neck is starting. In the next generation, you will pierce your ears and nose and wear bones or shells for decoration. I know very well. The Scarlet Plague, Jack London, page 13. Jack London had an artist's intuition that we would become cynical and savage. The sadomasochistic spirit of the exploitation order became identified with piercing, a universal culture, although the symbols of non-conformity with the system have become commercialized in popular culture. Piercing, which is still one of the representations of nonconformity, continues to be an existential rebellion. Richard von Krafft-Ebing, a German physician and sexologist of Austrian origin, identified about 230 different types of fetishes in his book Psychopathia Sexualis, published in 1886. Among them were stigmatophilia, curiosity about tattoos and piercings; dacryphilia, curiosity about tears; photophilia, curiosity about feet; stenolagnia, curiosity about muscles; and thylsosis, curiosity about pinching. According to a study published in The Lancet, piercing was practiced in almost all tribes. In addition to aesthetic purposes, it's known to have been done for different purposes, such as a show of power and brutalization. In some communities, piercing is also the main symbol of the rite of passage from puberty to manhood. In many tribes, tattoos, bracelets, heavy bracelets, chains, iron, stone, and reed rings were applied to the penis along with piercings. The Mayan nobility pierced their tongues and genital organs and wore various rings to draw blood. Religious ceremonies. North American Indians also wanted to reach different levels of consciousness in their shamanistic rituals by hanging from their chest piercings. In Central Asia, some Turkish and Mongolian shamans would change their piercings to be recognized as being in a trance. Sufis and Hindus in India, Sri Lanka and Malaysia also used piercings for the same purpose. In many communities, piercing is associated with shamanistic or military culture. Egyptian pharaohs ritually pierced their belly buttons. Roman warriors pierced their chests to show their masculinity. In Mayan culture, tongue piercing was a spiritual ritual. The most significant difference between piercing in history and piercing today is the expressionism of one's choice. Piercing is now an indicator of individual existence beyond belonging to a group. Today, body piercing and the wearing of jewelry are not bound by specific rules. Soon after the Second World War, piercings of the tongue, nipples, and lips became common in Germany. Tattoos often accompanied piercings in the late 1970s. Tattooing and piercing were reborn in Europe. Punks created a counterculture in this way. Their piercing also spread among homosexuals and sadomasochists in the US and the UK. After 1980, it became increasingly popular in Western countries, especially in the US, UK, France, and Germany. It diversified. While in 1968 it was only the choice of marginals, it became more popular. When a person pierces their skin, they are not just making a personal statement, but also challenging societal norms. The act of piercing is a declaration of individual power, a proclamation to the world that one is the master of one's own body. It's not just a physical alteration, but a rebellion against the age when difference was cursed. The piercing is not an extension of the body, but of the ego. The skin becomes a narcissistic envelope, often unclear about the soul it holds. In its current meaning, it is a rebellion. In his book, Alan Badiou describes the culture of piercing and tattooing as body that is displayed and branded by preserving within itself the trace of an impossible identity. It bears a superficial resemblance to the initiation practiced in some traditional societies. Still, its function is radically different, for it's not an initiation into their fertility of woman or the warriorhood of man, but into the inertia of eternal adolescence. While Badiou is right in this statement, he generalizes by failing to see that this is what postmodern life is all about and that no one, including himself, can escape from this point. In addition, even though today's piercing has a different meaning from those of the past, jewelry continues to evolve from meaning to meaning in all cultures. Piercing is a part of human history. Although its meanings change from culture to culture and from time to time, jewelry is a quality of human existence. Piercing is not bakelite. The plastic was invented in 1907. It's not a fried potato in fast food culture. It's a part of the jewelry culture and is about human beings. The most significant proof of this is the oldest known facial piercing dating back some 12,000 years, found in Africa. The discovery was made based on the wear of old teeth. In 1913, the fossilized remains of a young male known as Olduvai hominid 1 (OH1) were discovered in Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania. Despite being the first hominin remains discovered at what has become one of the world's most famous hominin fossil sites, OH1 has not been studied in great depth. The closest date for the remains is still 20,000 to 12,000 years old. Is piercing a state of perpetual adolescence? Perhaps it is, but it's a question that challenges our preconceived notions. The question of who has polluted the world is one that is truly addressed by the nature. Adolescence is a far superior phenomenon to maturity. The world is not polluted by adolescents, it's polluted by adults. For this very reason, I end this video by saying to the days when we live to the fullest our delusions of self based on illusions, with plenty of piercings. Piercing is an anchor thrown into our body by our eternal self that will never mature and will always remain adolescent, never complete. Today, and jewelry or decorative paint worn on the body can also be done in masochistic mood to prove the body's existence. The person may not even care if society sees it. Is this a mental illness? What isn't? Society itself is already sick. Who isn't? If it doesn't harm others or nature, it's none of society's business. Who gives a shit? Goodbye.